Hey guys, welcome back. On today's video, Melissa and I are going to be answering the question that we are most commonly asked here on the channel, which is,
what did this tiny home build cost us?
let's get into it.
We are going to be taking you guys around our tiny home and breaking down our expenses step by step, project by project.
Break it down now.
When planning our tiny home build, we wanted it to be comfortable, functional, but we also knew that it was going to be temporary while we built our actual house. So we had a pretty strict budget in mind.
Yeah, we didn't want to blow the bank. However, we did want this to be a nice living space for us. We might be spending a couple years here. So going into things, our plan and our set allotted budget was actually $20,000 in total.
Yeah, so let's see if we were able to stay on budget.
Over the last 7 months during our tiny home build, Melissa and I have made numerous trips to local hardware stores. There have also been some purchases that were made online. In that time, we went ahead and kept every single purchase receipt from all of the stores that we actually made purchases at. So each one of these stacks of receipts represents a different store or website. We went ahead and organized all those based on date, tallied everything up, and came up with a total cost for our build.
So here we go.
So as we dive into this here, guys, understand that a lot of the numbers we came up with were all tabulated. Many of them were rounded off, usually rounded up, just for the sake of keeping things nice and neat with our numbers.
Right. So our number one thing that we want to cover as far as expenses go is the overall framing of the tiny home. That includes the outer and inner walls of the tiny home. This structure is 40 feet by 16 feet.
Yeah, so for the exterior walls, we used it was all 8-foot lumber for the most part, with the exception of the joist for our loft. So for the exterior walls, we had 2 by 6 inch walls. The long front stretch wall that's actually set within the building itself was a 2 by 4 inch wall. And the 2 interior walls were also 2 by 4 inch walls. For the loft joist, we used 2 by 12 by 16 foot spans. All of that added up in total
to $1,500.
$1,500. And understand that we got started on this project back in May, and lumber at the time was a little cheaper than I think it still is currently. So.
Yeah. So $1,500 for the framing of the tiny home. Expense number 2 is going to be our sheathing. We are talking about our exterior, interior, and ceiling sheathing.
Yeah, and so we ended up going with OSB for all of our interior walls. A lot of people had questions about that, but at the time it was a much cheaper option than sheetrock was, believe it or not. I know that's not the case anymore. And we knew that the OSB would hold up a lot better for us. We have 4 young kids who have a tendency to kind of destroy sheetrock. It also offered us a lot of finishing flexibility. We knew that because it had a natural texture to it, we could paint it, it would look decent, and also for doing things like this laminate flooring that you see we actually put up on the walls back behind us, made life really easy. You could just slap it up there, get it nailed in, and you were done.
Yep.
Total cost?
$677, but that does not include the loft floor.
No, so the actual structure itself was completed with 7/16 inch OSB. Upstairs in the loft we had, I forget what the exact measurement was, but it's basically 3/4 inch tongue and groove OSB. So it cost us a little more.
Yep, so for doing the sheathing up in the loft, that was $380. Expense number 3 is going to be our insulation and vapor barrier.
Yeah, we use a variety of insulation throughout the tiny home. In our 6-inch walls, we use a faced fiberglass R19 insulation. It was an R13 insulation for our 4-inch walls, and then up overhead in the loft, we actually used a 10-inch unfaced fiberglass bat. I don't recall what the R value was on that, but we do know what the total cost was.
Right, so for all of our insulation, it was $1,700, and we spent an additional $75 on the poly vapor barrier. So in total for insulation and vapor barrier was $1,775. Expense number 4 is going to be our electrical. This includes our panel, our sub panel, all of our wiring, our outlets, and all of our switches. So total cost?
$1,000.
Expense number 5 is all of our tiny home plumbing. This includes 2 sinks, our washing machine, and our shower.
Yeah, we also had PEX lines that we use for our actual water lines, and then we use black ABS pipe for all of our drain lines. So total cost associated with all of that, $250. So again, the majority of our tiny home interior walls were done and finished in an OSB. For the actual back wall that you see here behind us, we used a sheetrock product. Once the price of OSB started to skyrocket, in the middle of our build.
Yeah, we also decided to do a shiplap accent wall inside the master bedroom. So the cost of the drywall and the little bit of shiplap that we used was $260.
So we actually lucked out and got a tremendous discount when it came to the carpet in our tiny home, which is laid only in the bedroom. So the kids' room and our room. Total cost for the carpet and the pad to go underneath it
was $395. We have 6 LED lights inside our tiny home.
Yeah, we actually purchased it as a single bundle kit.
Right, and the total cost of that was $120 for all tiny home lighting. We did a lot of painting inside the tiny home. The ceilings, the bathroom, the shiplap, both bedrooms, the front wall in the living room, all of our doors, all of our window and door frames, all of our millwork and our trim. It was a lot of primer and a lot of paint. We actually went through about 10 gallons of primer, so many gallons of paint.
Yeah, a big part of the reason why is because we did use OSB as our interior walls, and probably the biggest drawback that we found with actually using that as your finished wall material is that it soaks up a ton of primer and paint.
Yeah, it also soaked up $400 out of our budget. Since trim and caulk make carpenters what they're not, we used a lot of it. So
You're talking about me right now, right?
I know. So this next quote is all of the trim, the baseboards, the crowns, our window wraps, and our door framing.
I don't know, you tell me.
We spent $800 on trim and caulk to make you what you're not.
We have 4 doors in our tiny home. We have the main entrance and an exit, and then we have 3 interior doors. Again, for the sake of keeping costs down, we went with very cheap doors, with the exception of the front door.
Yeah, and we did an excellent job installing them. So this price breakdown includes all 4 doors and the hardware. Jeremy wanted to swap everything out so that it looked like Magnolia Market. And again, he's got that love affair with Joanna.
Are we still doing this?
We are.
This is still a thing?
So because of Jeremy's obsession with making everything look farmhouse chic, our total cost for the doors was $800.
Again, Melissa, nobody believes you.
Everybody believes me, they know. I have to see that. I have to see that. I have to... Thank you. When designing our tiny home, we wanted that rustic barnwood look,
And
but
not because of me, it's because of Melissa. Just to be clear.
Yeah. So Jeremy really wanted that rustic barnwood look, but I told him, no, Jeremy, it's too expensive to go buy actual barnwood. So we ended up going with laminate wood walls. It's actually a flooring product, and then we did laminate on our floor as well.
Yeah, I really like the way that turned out. I think it looks great. It does look very realistic. It's not because of me, once again. Regardless, the flooring went down. That also looks really good. Beneath that, we actually had to use a little underlayment moisture barrier material. So all of that in total was
$780. So now we are going to break down the total cost for building our tiny home kitchen. Now we are not including the cost of any appliances because we brought our appliances with us. So that was not part of our budget, didn't cut into it. But if you are planning your own build, you might want to make sure that you are accounting for any appliances that you might need to bring to the build.
Yeah, so this quote will actually be for the cabinets, the countertops, our pantry, what else?
All the hardware
that went along with it.
Yep. So total cost for all of that was $2,100. So that kitchen quote was everything but the kitchen sink. So with the kitchen sink, the faucet, and the necessary hot water tank that we needed in order to have actual hot water coming out of our sink, it was another $765.
We got a lot of questions from people about how it is that we were managing our heat and our cooling. We don't have any kind of an HVAC system that was actually installed in here. For our heating, we are using this big wood stove that you see behind us, and then in the summertime for our cooling, we just open the windows. It's really as simple as that.
Yeah, so this quote is going to differ a lot from other people's quotes. We actually brought our pad for our stove and our stove from our old house. So again, that didn't cut into our budget. All we had to pay for was installation, the metal that you see behind the stove, and the pipe going all the way up and out. So we spent $4,000 having it installed and then all that pipe that we needed to buy. But if you have to do like a heat pump or any kind of heating system, your costs are probably going to be a little bit higher than ours.
Yeah, we ended up having to pay for about 25 feet of upright stovepipe, and this is the only thing within the entirety of this project that we had professionally installed. We didn't want to take the risk, given the fact that it is a wood stove with fire in it. So we had that done professionally.
Yep, so $4,000 out of the budget to keep this place warm in the winter. So probably the most expensive little room in this tiny home was our bathroom. It actually took the longest and was the most challenging. So
by far.
Yeah, so this quote includes our waterproof laminate flooring, the pad underneath that, all the shiplap that we did in here, and the drywall required. And
it's actually vinyl flooring, not laminate flooring.
Sorry, vinyl flooring. So for flooring, all wall coverings, and drywall, it was $600.
And then the shower that you see here behind us was, again, a lot of work, but for the framing, all of the tile material, the grout, all that, the valve,
the red guard,
shower, the red guard,
cement board
that went behind our eventual vinyl flooring finished product that you see here behind us, it was $700.
So the last part of our bathroom build was our vanity, our mirror, our lighting, our overhead vent fan, and our little towel shelf. So all of that together,
$490.
So the entire cost of the bathroom build was $1,780. So that is all of our costs, project by project, step by step. We went ahead and added an additional $1,000 for things like anchor bolts and staples and screws and nails, door doingies, things like that.
Yeah, those tiny little miscellaneous costs that we actually didn't include in our itemized list.
Right.
So grand total, again, this is a reminder, coming into this, Melissa and I had the goal of keeping this under $20,000. That was our set allotted budget. What did we come in at? Build some anticipation here. Give me a drum roll.
Our total cost was $18,400.
Yeah, not bad. So we were well under budget, and that frees up, what, $1,500+ for us to now apply toward the main house, which isn't a whole bunch, but every penny counts.
Right, and hopefully we can stay on budget for our home build as well.
So keep in mind that coming into this, we did have some tools, but there were a lot of things that we had to purchase along the way. So that was some added expense, but we view that more so as an investment than anything. It's some stuff that we will use, especially with the main house, and we can hold on to and keep for a long time.
Right. The barn dominion option is actually pretty cool, something that we didn't really consider before we had a pole barn ourselves and decided to build out a living space. If it were just Jeremy and I, or we just had one kid, we would probably just use this as our home and not even worry about building a house, but that wasn't the ultimate dream. But for other people that maybe think that this would just suit them just fine, it's a very affordable option versus taking out a big mortgage or trying to build a really large house. And it gives you all the storage that you could possibly want, plus a really comfortable living space.
Yeah, when you consider that, purchases like a brand new car can cost you $40,000, $50,000. Taking that money and applying it towards something like this, to me, just makes a lot more sense. It's far more practical, and it gives you what potentially could be a debt-free living space for you and your family.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the total cost, including the barn. Let's say you bought raw land and you wanted to do something similar. We put up a 40 by 64 pole barn, and we didn't actually build that. We had it built, and then we had a full slab poured in the entire thing. The cost for the barn, having it built and the slab, was $57,000.
So when you take into consideration the total cost of our putting this living space in, along with the total cost of the pole barn itself, you're looking at $75,000, give or take, which is very doable for a family. I think if you just save up, you come up with a plan to try and make something like this happen, again, you can be debt-free, enjoying your life, doing your thing it is that you enjoy doing, rather than going to a miserable job every day, paying off a mortgage for 30 years.
Yeah, so you'd be pretty hard pressed to find a house for $75,000 anywhere in the country, so it's pretty neat to be able to do that yourself.
Yep.
A few things when considering buying raw land are extra expenses. Does it already have a driveway or an access road? That can get pretty pricey depending on if you need to gravel it or pave it or cut a new road altogether. Other things to consider are going to be the water situation. Can you hook up to city water, or do you need to drill a well? So,
power, yeah, same thing goes for power. How are you going to power your property? You're going to run power on the grid. It's going to be a healthy chunk of money, as it was for us. You're going to go the solar route. You're going to do wind, hydro.
Yep, and other things you need to think about are a septic system, any permits and inspections that go along with that. Same with plumbing and electrical. Pretty much anywhere you are in the country is going to require at least those permits and inspections. Other places might have occupancy permits or building permits that we didn't have to worry about, but we did have electric, septic, and plumbing. Hopefully that answers the question that we have been getting through this entire build of what this whole project costs. It was really eye-opening for us just to build this and see what all this stuff actually does cost when you're doing the work yourself.
Yeah, you save yourself a ton of money when you're willing to just put in the work.
Right. So thank you guys so much for following along on this. We have a lot more to come. We have an entire house to build, so please follow along and we will catch you on the next one.
See you guys.